what we wanted kids to do was interview their parents and figure out a theme that goes throughout their lives. So they took home interview questions, they interviewed their parents, and then they came back and they had to figure out, were my questions deep enough so that I can get an answer of what their theme is? And if not, then I need to go back and figure out a theme in their life. I need to ask these questions that are deep enough so that I can figure out a theme in my parents' life.
This project is really good because well, it brings you closer to your family. And I asked my mom some questions, and it really brought me closer to her. I really didn't know all this stuff about her, but now it makes me think her a whole different way. I respect her more.
Well, I personally wanted the kids to connect with their families and learn stories about their families and their family members and just deepen their relationships with people, with the family members they feel close to. And also, we wanted them to understand the bigger idea of themes in people's lives and how, all of us humans have stories and experiences, and sometimes we have common themes in our lives and common life lessons and takeaways from various experiences. And we wanted the kids to see that, like, if you ask the right questions or if you take the time to interview a family member, you'll learn these cool stories about your families, but also you can find these like common themes that maybe your classmate found in their family as well.
So we were helping kids figure out what is theme, how does theme relate to your family. So for some families it was, I have a resilient family, or we've been through a lot but we're still hopeful for more, or we've had struggles and struggle creates character. Something to that effect of that your family has an underlying theme, and sometimes it's from many generations, and sometimes it's just within this current generation of you have to have a struggle in order to get what you want.
So how we're doing these interviews in this project, how is that helping you with your reading and writing later?
It will help me kind of realize what a good writer will look like, and like be able to kind of judge books better and maybe see if they have enough elaboration, but then also take from what I've read to then and find theme. Definitely find theme. That's a big one. And then take it and then use it in my writing from what other readers can do.
I learned a lot about just the families and the kids and the home lives that they're coming from and the experiences of their families coming to this. A lot of them coming to this country, like they were refugees in other countries or they came from really bad circumstances in other countries, and so it was enlightening to hear those stories.
We are honoring a text that is the story of our students' families' experiences that I expect to be tremendously empowering for a lot of our kids.
Grandfather's story really affected me, and it affected me because I never got to my grandfather, and I would feel hurt if I had grandchildren and they never got to meet me. I would feel hurt, just like I feel hurt that I never got to meet my grandfather.
I wanted the kids to take away the sense that, that they can talk to their family members, that their family members have a history and a very interesting past. And I wanted them to learn to speak to their family members more and to have that conversation and share stories more. And that's exactly what happened. A lot of my kids had said that they never talked to their parents about their lives. They were very interested in a lot of the stories that their parents said. I even had one kid say, I didn't know I could just talk to my mom about things. So it was exactly what I wanted.
It made me feel closer to my dad, connected to the story about him joining the marching band and liking music and liking the trumpet. It made me feel more connected to him because he likes music like I do. And and that's how I got affected. Because I never knew that he joined the marching band. So that's something that I learned.
Honestly, the planning was intensive. We started with Yummy, and we were talking about what are our learning targets, what do we really want kids to get from this, and he had brought to us the read, write, think. It was kind of a skeleton. It was a family narrative that we had gone from, and so he brought us that, and a teammate and we kind of used that as our skeleton, and were responsive to what our kids were going through. So we would do a couple of days, look to see kind of what they were getting from it, and then add what we needed to really be able to get kids to see theme within their families.
Going through the QFT, the question formulation technique, to help them like create those probing questions for their interviews was also very rigorous. Having them write their family narratives was also pretty rigorous for a lot of students. And some students, it was just even like extracting or finding that theme.
So creating the questions was our first point of rigor. The kids first started with a tremendous amount of closed questions versus open-ended questions, and then they had to take those closed questions and turn them into open-ended questions. So that was, took some flexible thinking for them. Asking the questions and interviewing their parents, they actually recorded it, and when they came back to school to start writing about it, if they realized that there was missing pieces, they had to know that they could go back and re-interview and ask for more questions. Also, finding theme in an event in somebody's life can be very difficult. Theme's a very complex thing. So that was a lot of the rigor, and just learning how to ask questions and draw the details you want, and then ask responsive questions according to the answers.
I would talk more to my mom about how she met my dad, because she didn't give me all the juicy details, she just gave me some, which I want all the juicy details.
How do you think that this project is going to help you further down with reading and writing?
I think it'll help me with reading to find like the theme in books and like help me have empathy when I'm reading a book, and in writing to like do more like transitions and like feelings in my writing. I felt like it was a way to help me persevere through hard times and like challenge me to go beyond the surface level.
What do you mean by that?
Like at the beginning I just wanted to stick with the first one, but then I realized if I couldn't do that, I could go even farther, and I could always keep on continuing.
What do you mean the first one and continuing? What were you continuing with?
I was continuing on elaborating and putting in more detail.
We worked really closely together to try to figure out, what do our kids need, what are they getting, what are they not, how can we then modify that, and then continue on with the project. And so just being really responsive to the needs of our students.
I would change that I would go deeper with my mom with asking questions, and I would change the topic a lot. I think what was challenging was that we got to write, and that we really struggle a lot writing, but we still got it.
The rigor that I encountered through this process was not what I expected. I hadn't thought, we'll have the rubric, we have a final idea of what we want the kids to give to us, and I was thinking my rigor was going to be more involved with how do kids ask questions, helping them build those more interesting questions. And instead, it ended up to be that I had to kind of have a release of control, that the kids were going to take this and kind of build their own. And that was not what I expected. So it was rigorous for me as the teacher of, I did not expect that to occur.
I would change my first paragraph because it just needs a little bit more details, and that I would tell my mom more questions about what she did when she was moving.
It was cross-curricular, and it was also like off-curricular. Like there's nothing in any standards or anything that says, get to know your family members. But speaking and listening, it definitely had a lot to do with speaking and listening, your language standards, your writing standards, reading standards, because we used a lot of text of other people and their stories. And we had the kids kind of pretend they were asking the person who had written that text questions to, teach them how to be responsive questioners.
I would like to talk more to my mom about her past and her story.
I was kind of inspired by the story. I was proud that she came all this way from Algeria, and it's saying that she started as an immigrant and living in Algeria now, and now she lives in America. She's a French teacher, and she teaches at Grandview. And I just felt inspired because she's in Algeria. In Algeria, it's kind of hard to do all that stuff. It's insanely hard to do all that stuff because Algeria is not as rich as America and you can't really accomplish things.
I would definitely do it again. There was so much value to the kids and their families, the relationships that they provided to us, but also, well, they showed to us, but that the kids were building with their family member. And I would make some changes. I think I would help the kids kind of develop a little bit more their initial interview. I think the initial interview was too broad and the kids were not sure, so I think I would probably lessen it down to a couple fewer questions, and then I would probably, I would probably have the parents come in so that the kids can present with their parents. The kids only got to present at conferences, which was many months later. For me, in my classroom, the kids were reading their papers to their parents in conferences, and the parents were touched. A couple parents cried. Many parents smiled of like, this was about us or our family or, great grandma who had passed away, or it was a special kind of moment between the families and myself.
I suggest that other kids should interview their parents just like I did, because you can get to know them better. And what I liked about this project is that I got to have I got to get connected to my mom's childhood.
Kids that talk with their parents and know more about their parents' history are more resilient. And so this is something I think we owe our kids, because resilience is something that's really hard to teach. And sometimes family connection with YouTube and people working 2-3 jobs and TV and video games, we might be losing that kind of storytelling and passing history on. So I think we owe it to our kids to do something like this. It doesn't have to be done in a 4-week chunk. It could be done in little projects.
What I like about this project is that it brings me closer to my dad. And what I like about this project, it brings me closer to my dad. And I think other people like this because it brings them, because they're gonna learn like more about I think they're gonna learn more about their family member.
Like what I'm doing over spring break is the kids are interviewing a family member about what school was like when they were in elementary school. And we did a QFT for that. And then they're going to interview their family member, and then they're going to come back and we're going to do a compare contrast writing. So you can use this kind of like talk to your family member in all kinds of writing and other ELA things.
I do want to suggest other people doing this at home, even though it's not an assignment in school. So I suggest doing this. It's very cool, and it might bring somebody in your family that doesn't talk or be with you that much to be closer to you.
What I like about this project, I like it. Honestly, I don't like it. I love it.
I love this project. We're gonna learn more about my dad. I had fun writing. I also we didn't just do project. We learned that we have the grit. We have grit. We had our time to do it. We have, and we could take stories because if you want to be writers, like how I'm reading about Malala, I could learn how to make a book.
Jayshawn, how did you feel about this family narrative project?
I felt good about it, but I didn't feel super good about it because we had to pick one family member, and I felt because I did my mom, and I felt like my dad he felt left out, and school activities because I usually pick mom for something like that.
Do you feel like it would have been better if we could have picked another? Do you think you can still ask your dad questions? So can you still go home and ask your dad all the questions? What else do you feel about it?
For most of the part, I feel good.
Why?
I feel good about it because I really want to know more about my family narrative.
Definitely want to do this again next year. Adjustments there would be a lot. Now that we've been through it, I kind of know now where possible stumbling blocks may be. But I would use solid read alouds. I found one, thankfully, during this unit. It was called Finding Winnie, which was a narrative of Winnie the Pooh and how that was based on a real family story. Finding more mentor texts like that and having a personal, me doing it with them. I showed them an interview with me and my family, but I never completed the project like they did. So having it completed and showing them the completed project would be helpful as well, I think, for the next time around, and student examples.
I definitely will do this next year. I think we should start the year with this. That's one of the changes that I will come up with. Having kids be able to tell their story at the beginning of the year and connecting to school in a way where they see my home and school are combined and we're together, and my teacher honors my culture, my family, who I am. I think you can't ask for a better way to start the year.